Dear students, today in our class, let us get to know about a medically important disease and a genetically inherited disease, Alkaptonuria. Alkaptonuria, it is a rare disorder of autosomal recessive inheritance. It is caused by a mutation in a gene known as HGDO, which stands for homogentisate 1,2 dioxygenase. When this gene is downregulated, it results in the accumulation of an acid known as homogentisic acid. This homogentisic acid is usually accumulated in the urine and get passed in the form of dark colored urine, and upon standing, urine turns black in color. Excess levels of HGA can also be found in body fluids, tissues, which later develops into arthritis and ochronosis. This HGA, which is a bluish black polymer, gets accumulated in connective tissues, cartilaginous tissues, and produce a discoloration on the cheeks, nose, sclera, and ears. And this condition is called as ochronosis, which is very much evident in the mid-adult life. Accumulation of this HGA leads to the degeneration of cartilages, which leads to arthritis and also the degeneration of peripheral joints. This condition follows the Mendelian recessive pattern and was first described by a person known as Garrod in the year 1908. When we see the metabolic pathway of this particular disease, what exactly happens is that the protein in our diet contains of amino acids, and one such amino acid is phenylalanine. Phenylalanine gets metabolized to tyrosine, and from tyrosine, they later get metabolized into 4-hydroxyphenylpyruvic acid. This 4-hydroxyphenylpyruvic acid has to get metabolized to homogentisic acid. Homogentisic acid later has to get converted to malloacetoacetic acid, and this happens because of the gene known as HGDO gene. Failure in this gene, meaning to say mutation in this gene, makes the gene ineffective, and thereby malloacetoacetic acid is not produced. On the other hand, there is accumulation of homogentisic acid, and this condition is called as alkaptonuria. Homogentisic acid, further, in the presence of an enzyme known as polyphenol oxidase, get converted to a compound known as BQA, which stands for benzoquinone acetic acid. This benzoquinone acetic acid is the one which gets excreted in urine, and more of it gets deposited in the connective tissues. When we see the frequency of this disease, the frequency is indicating that it is a very rare hereditary metabolic disorder, which can be seen 1 in 250,000 individuals. As we told that this disease is characterized by the gene which gets mutated, and the gene is known as HGDO gene. This gene can be seen on chromosome number 3, and especially on the long arm of the chromosome number 3, that is a Q arm. In this particular gene, the mutation takes place because of either missense mutations or frameshift mutations. It has been reported that in this single gene, around 65 mutations can lead to the disease known as alkaptonuria. One example might be in the form of missense mutation, where the gene codes for an amino acid proline at the position 238. But instead of proline, serine, when replaced, give rise to the downregulation of this gene. In other words, this gene at the position of 817 nucleotide, the cytosine is replaced by thymine. When cytosine is replaced by thymine, proline is getting changed to serine amino acid. Another example speaks about the conversion of methionine and valine, meaning to say, in the presence of methionine, valine amino acid comes. These are few of the examples of the mutations caused in the gene HGDO, and that is responsible for the disease Alkaptonuria. The main three clinical features of this particular disease is homogentistic aciduria, meaning to say accumulation of homogentistic acid in the urine, ochronosis, and ochronotic osteoarthropathy. Each feature present at various stage of life. It is bringing about the earliest being detection in the urine. The passing of black urine is a manifestation of the condition known in the infants, where it can be diagnosed in infants before 1 year of age. Incidental discoveries have been observed during screening programs. As mentioned, the darkening of the urine mainly occurs because HGA in the presence of polyphenol oxidase gets converted to BQA, benzoquinone acetoacetate. Ochronosis develops as the BQA accumulates both intra and extra spaces of the connective tissues. The pigment can also be seen in the eyes and ears. This pigment deposition in the alkaptonuric patients is called as ochronosis. The term is used to describe the darkening of tissues, which is due to a slow accumulation of the black polymer of homogentic acid in the cartilage and other mesenchymal tissues. Apart from this, the organs which are getting affected are large joints, cardiovascular system, kidney, skin, and glands. The clinical manifestations can also be observed in the renal, prostate, gallbladder, salivary gland stones, ruptures of tendons, ligaments, osteopenia, and fractures. There can also be a condition known as aortic valve stenosis, which can be corrected by surgical replacement.